The first cosplay I ever made was when I was in college. I had dressed up as Link. Very basic, just some scraps of green fabric. I was wandering around Halloween and people would be calling from across the way like, "Oh my God, it's Zelda." I'm like, "I'm not Zelda, I'm Link." There's a big difference. My name is Lea Hughes. I work over in entertainment and I'm an insights manager supporting the growth of a few researchers at the company and lead the team that researches our IP. So everything from champion resonance to really understanding the essence of KDA. As much of an umbrella term as it is, I've always really identified with the term creator. A lot of people see the work that I do, they'll put that cosplay label on it. But I'm basically a walking human bard. So I knit, I sew, I sculpt, I play guitar, I sing, I cook. I love creating, and I found that costume creation was a really incredible way to merge my love of making things and my love of fantasy, games, anime, and shows that depict really cool looking characters. The first real venture that I took into cosplay was for PAX East 2013, my first gaming convention ever. I had just started playing League, so I decided to make WOAD Ash that leaned into skill sets that I'd already had. I sewed her pants and her bra top that she had, but I think the moment that I realized how deeply I wanted to get into that community was with her 5-foot bow. I'm barely over 5 feet tall, and when I saw this in-game model of Ash with this massive wooden bow that she had, I thought to myself, I need to make this. So what started off as a 6-foot plank of wood ended up getting cut into shape, rasped, sanded down. I used my Dremel to create this little inlay and took little blue gems and put them in. And when I saw this bow that I had created, I was like, yes, this is my calling now. If you were to ask me what my strength is as a cosplayer, I would say I do all of the things, and I think that that's a strength. But if I had to really pinpoint one, I would say probably prop making. I have a particular love of making giant weapons. I'm a small person, and I think there's a bit of a Napoleon complex that comes with carrying a battle axe that is the size of me. Fun fact, the first paycheck that I ever got from Riot was when I sold them one of my prop weapons that I'd made. It was my WOAD King DARIUS axe. I think the thing I love most about creating cosplays is the feeling of having this massive project that I'm working towards, right? This vision of what this thing is going to look like, and having those little check marks along the way where I get to create something cool. My greatest feat of engineering in cosplay was a SIREN CASSIOPEIA cosplay. One of the struggles that you have is how do you make a person look like they have a serpentine, very organic shaped tail? I created what I could only describe as a rolling rock skirt or a cage crinoline with caster wheels on the bottom that sat right at my upper thighs just below my glutes. I created it to look like this sea rock and then created this fake tail that wrapped around it, and I literally would just walk inside of this rock and it looked like I was sitting on top of it. So that one ended up getting a lot of traction in the community. There was like an article that was written about it. It was really fun, but there's a picture that exists of me in the moment of pure joy when I realized that that cosplay fit on an escalator. Because any of you who've been to a gaming convention knows that the elevators are a precious resource. I tend to make all of my weapons transportable, which if you've ever flown to a convention, you understand the difficulties of that. I think maybe the engineering part is actually the biggest skill set for me. Figuring out, I have this idea for how I want something to work, so how can I make it in a way that makes it work that way. When that comes to working at Riot, I have stakeholders coming to me all the time asking for a very specific thing. I want the play rate on this particular champion, or I want the audience resonance for this particular skin line. And a lot of my job is to kind of pull back and say, hey, totally understand, totally hear that you want that. Why don't you tell me the outcomes that you're hoping for? Why don't you tell me what decision this is informing? So that way you and I can work together and figure out what's actually the best thing for me to deliver for you to give you the outcome that you're hoping for. It's a skill set I use a lot at Riot, and it was definitely one that I had to hone while I was working with cosplay customers. If you're looking to get into cosplay and building, find something that you're really passionate about. Because if the passion isn't there, you're not going to want to put in the hours. I cannot tell you how many hours it took me just to make that one little half shirt alone, which I think has almost 6,000 rings to it. The idea of I'm gonna make a cosplay that lets me walk around being my favorite gnome cleric, all of that pain is worth it.